Welcome to another edition of Nothing Ventured, Nothing Gained, our podcast at SC Ventures, where we talk about innovation, venture building, and the future of finance. Today, we're going to talk about AI and the reason why it's such an important topic. We believe at SC Ventures that it's not just a buzzword, but it's actually at the core of what we're doing. At the core of what we're doing for ventures, at the core of how we build new ventures, how we build capabilities, how we support better services and better capabilities for the bank, but also for the entire ecosystem. With me to talk about this topic, I brought someone who's quite instrumental and one of the driving forces behind an initiative that we're launching called the AI Lab, Michael Cutler, who's also our CTO and one of our AI experts at SC Ventures. Michael, thanks for joining.
Thank you very much. I think it's a great time to be working in this field, particularly in SC Ventures, where we are kind of at the forefront of both venture building, and we have a portfolio of great companies. We also understand how banking works, and we've also got this great ecosystem of partners that we can leverage. So we're kind of really at the intersection to capitalize on this uptick in AI.
Yeah, and just to give a perspective, I think a lot of people are talking about AI, but to put things into numbers, last year alone, more than $60 billion went into investments into AI startups. So it's one of the most important themes out there. We made the decision not to make a big announcement compared to some others, and really offer an engine that is going to be at the core of our venture building engine within SC Ventures. There was also another article, and maybe we can reflect on that a little bit, from McKinsey that believes that through AI, more than $1 trillion of value can be unlocked for the financial industry by tackling risk scoring, better lending, better decision making, better fraud detection, and a number of different topics that I think we're working on.
Yeah, it's a great point. And it's not just about kind of AI for AI's sake. And a lot of the early first movers in this sector were looking at it from a technology perspective. So they were bringing a technology, then looking for the problem. Instead, the reason that we have the AI Lab is so we can start with the problems, we can validate those problems, we can understand the potential ROI of solving for these problems, both for our customers and our employees and the bank itself, as well as looking at if this is a problem that the wider market has, is this something we want to take through our venture building pipeline and turn into an AI-driven company?
And we have an approach where actually, as Michael, as you were saying, is we look at the use case and how we can work on these use case, not just invest in them, but actually provide some actual capabilities, resources, and people to deliver tangible value on these use cases. But let's start a little bit further up. So what's the genesis behind the AI Lab, and what is it exactly? Can you share more about that?
Sure. So the AI Lab is meant to give us a framework to help us understand all of the potential AI use cases, thousands of ideas that are coming, say, from the bank, from the ventures, and what we see in the market, and then distilling that down into the few that have the actual value, something that we can place to our strengths. It's banking related, it can integrate to our ecosystem, and it's something that we can build and bring to life very quickly. And in that vein, we already have two of our AI-driven ventures in the pipeline already. Catalyst Carbon is already out in the market. That venture is an ESG AI-enabled platform that allows you to turn a nebulous sort of unstructured data around carbon credit projects and then turn that into investment decisions. And that's a venture we could not have built without the latest capabilities in GenAI.
And the other one, so you mentioned Catalyst, which you and I have been quite involved with, and it's impressive actually what AI can bring to this venture. But what's the other one that you've been working on as well?
So the other one is not publicly announced yet, but it's a RegTech compliance automation tool. And again, it's taking an incredibly complex sector of regulatory compliance changes in multiple languages in multiple countries, and then it's mapping that back to everything from policy standards and frameworks at a bank all the way through to potentially commercial contracts. So an illustrative example, say Monetary Authority Singapore changes the rules around the buy now, pay later scheme. that would affect StanChart because StanChart is it backs A2Me, one of the buy now pay later schemes. Therefore, if that scheme changes on the MES regulatory side, that's going to have an impact on a commercial contract. That entire workflow process is incredibly manual right now, and any regulated company, whether it's a bank or a fintech, has that challenge and needs people to understand and interpret those changes and then understand what they need to do. Now, AI is a great tool to solve for individual parts of that problem, but if there's already 15 steps in that workflow, do you really need to replicate every single one of those 15 steps, or can AI completely automate sections of it until you get to a point where a human is actually needed to sign off on a change in a contract? So it's both looking at how we can bring AI tools in to enhance or help with the automation of those workflows, but also being able to step back and understand, well, this process used to have 15 steps because of the way it used to be done, but now you only need 4 steps where the people that are involved, or the human in the loop, is interfacing with the automation tools.
And tons of other use cases. I mean, we could spend a lot of time on all the other use cases, but maybe 2 more that I think are worth mentioning. One around agentic AI. I think it's a big topic these days, but we're currently looking at how we can use potentially a sort of a advisor, an agent that can make some recommendations for ultra high net worth individual and family offices. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one as well?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, agentic AI is a big trend this year. Everyone's talking about it, but not everybody understands what it means. Essentially, the way that I see agentic AI is it's an automation which is running all of the time, and it's performing mundane tasks autonomously without your involvement, but you as the human operator, the human in the loop, it will surface things you need to know. So that could be as simple as you are maybe a small or high net worth individual or a small single family office. You open up your dashboard and it's telling you already upcoming key dates that may affect your portfolio. It's already thinking a few steps ahead and it's suggesting what you could do next. So it's not a chat-led experience where the human has to ask it a question and kind of drag the AI to give it the answers. It's far more proactive, where the AI is autonomously looking at things that may impact you ahead of time, and it's suggesting how you could potentially address that, whether it's changing your portfolio position or it's just an advisory thing around dates you need to be aware of.
And it's really interesting the way you're describing it, because we're not replacing, by the way, individuals. I think we're enhancing and improving the quality of the decisions that they could be making and the investments that they could be looking at when they don't currently have either the knowledge, the background, or simply the capacity to be making these sort of decisions.
Yeah, it's another great example that we have, and obviously all banks have this. They have relationship managers, and relationship managers have multiple clients, and it's really down to the individual relationship manager how they handle their client relationships, how they keep their clients up to date, how they understand the portfolio, things like key dates. And that's a lot of manual labor, and it really depends on the individual relationship manager. But imagine if you could give that relationship manager a support tool where it understands their client portfolio, it understands the key dates like Fed announcement rate, interest rate announcements, it understands their portfolios. It means that relationship manager can go into a meeting with their client armed with the talking points to have really engaging conversations. So the AI is kind of a support tool to enable better human interactions in that case.
Yeah, exactly. And it's how do we make them even more relevant and more knowledgeable in a context where there's a lot of competition, and it's all about how you can make a difference in front of your clients, on behalf of your clients as well. I think one more, because I think we touched upon agentic AI, we touched upon being able to treat a lot of documents, so LLM, etc. I think another one which is really interesting is also risk scoring. Risk scoring in a very complex environment such as digital assets, and that's another one that we're looking at. It's very, very early on, but did you want to explain a little bit some of the things that we're doing around that?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, AI is great for automating anywhere we have vast unstructured data. So particularly in the sector of digital assets, understanding the kind of macro environment, what's going on in the US, which is changing on a daily basis, potentially looking at leveraging other signals like social media, and then basically using all of these to turn that unstructured messy data into signals and then those signals you can start to use in sort of more traditional recommendation algorithms or risk scoring and profiling algorithms. And Gen AI is great at being able to help you interpret that. It's taken a very long time to get natural language processing to be able to interpret text well and to extract meaning, particularly on places like X or Twitter. So being able to use Gen AI to understand and abstract that into useful signals has always been kind of the missing piece of the puzzle.
And not necessarily turning into terminal truth, which was not at all what a big financial institution would ever do. But interesting. Yes. I think the way it worked, right? Okay, before we talk about what's next, there's been a few things as well that's been happening, both for our fintechs, for our ventures, but also for our colleagues at the bank. There was a recent call for ideas.
Yes.
Did you want to, maybe talk a little bit about more about some of the ideas that we're thinking about, ideas that we've received as well?
Yeah, of course. So internally, we have Spark Innovation, which is the platform we use to gather ideas through challenges. There's an AI challenge going on at the moment for the bank. When I last checked, we had over 1,000 AI use cases in there. So when I mentioned earlier, like panning for gold and trying to find the good use cases out of that, that's why we're looking at how we can systematize that process to understand those use cases. Obviously, out on the internet, we have Fintech Bridge, which is our other interface, where you can join, you can submit your ideas there. If you're a technology partner, we obviously don't want to build everything from first principles. If you're an interesting company, you have a graph RAG solution or you have an agentic solution, please sign up. We can connect with you on Fintech Bridge and then introduce you to both our ventures and any of the AI use cases that match.
Well, I think that's very, very useful. So thank you very much, Michael, for joining us on the podcast. If you have any questions or if you have a use case, as Michael said, feel free to reach out to us either on the Fintech Bridge or you can reach out to us directly and we'll be happy to explore collaboration together. Thanks, everyone.